I'd like to call this regular council meeting of the Council of the Village of Greenhills for November 1st, 2011 to order. Let's all rise and begin the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Adams.
Here.
Burke. Freeze.
Here.
Hermes.
Here.
Visnick. Here. Walterman.
Here. All right, Mr. Burke is had knee surgery, I believe, so he is not joining us tonight. At this point, I have opportunity for approval of minutes. The October 4th public hearing, regular council meeting, the October 18th work session.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes of the October 4th public hearing and regular council meeting and the October 18th, 2011 work session.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the October 4th public hearing and regular council meeting, October 18th work session. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. At this point of the meeting, we have opportunity for residents to address council. It's time for citizens to comment on matters before council to ask questions concerning to them. When recognized, please come forward to the lectern and give your name and address, state your comments or questions. Comments, you know, traditionally, we've said 2 minutes. In practice, it's always been longer than that. So, you know, I'm willing to go 3 minutes. I had a resident ask me at the last council meeting if 3 minutes is appropriate. 3 minutes is fine, but it'll be 3 minutes, no more. Thank you very much. Anybody wish to address the council?
Greetings, Mayor Morrell, Manager Kovac, and council members. Please help save the Cincinnati Main Post Office, PNDC, Greenhills Post Office, and the Greenhills Post Office. As a community, we stand united. It's not about politics, money, or personal gain. It's about the people and the community. As a resident of the village of Greenhills, I just want to thank you for this upcoming, proclaiming your support for the retention for the Main Post Office. This resolution, 2011-52 CD will join forces with members of our community to send a message to the nation and our Congress to save America's Postal Service. I respectfully ask you to actively work to urge our elected officials to support HR 1351, bringing all of our residents and for them to contact the influential people in our community, politicians, judges, ministers, business people, aboard, and doing everything we can to protect one of the most trusted institutions and get them to contact the elected representatives. This vital piece of legislation would help restore the U.S. Postal Service to sound financial footing with a balanced and sensible approach at no cost to taxpayers. At the same time, this bill will help to preserve thousands of middle-class jobs and avoid thousands of devastating post office closures. Under our current economic conditions, nothing can be more important than saving jobs. The U.S. Postal Service affects every resident and business in this community, and so what happens to it is of great national importance. The Dalton Street Postal Distribution Center is already on the list for closing. The Greenhills Post Office may not be on the new closing list, but it will be there on the next list or the one thereafter. If you care about your post office, write a letter to the editor. Go to your post office, buy some stamps, and start writing to your elected officials. Flood the office of the Postal Regulation Commission and write letters telling why you need your post office, why Greenhills, Cincinnati, America needs its post office. Once again, I would like to thank you for having the courage to stand up in support of working families on this important issue. And thank you, council members, as you vote for this resolution that addresses the financial crisis facing the Postal Service.
Thank you, Tony. Okay, that's it, we're moving on. Reports. Crying out loud. All right.
Good evening, council, neighbors, police officers, council. Stephen Covey's 7 Rules of Highly Effective People, he writes that you should first seek to understand. And I've been coming to council meetings for going on 5 years now, trying to understand, and I believe that I've learned quite a bit, but there's a lot of mysteries still there. I've made the effort to read a lot of public documents, to research and understand a little bit more. This evening, as I picked up these papers for this meeting, there's a number of things that do need some clarification to me. First, I'll mention a comment that was made at the prior meeting for the Planning Commission. It was on the term conflict of interest, rather not to include it in a document. And I think that those 3 words are extremely vital to the health of a democracy, and especially in Greenhills. The Ohio Ethics Commission goes to quite a lot of detail to spell out what conflict of interest is. So I do believe you should be very conscious of that, as we all should be. I'd like to reference this supplemental appropriation, which follows just a year after we approved $3,484,000 in taxes. I notice here that there is a couple items that Mr. Walterman, as chair, probably could address. We have the apartment fund operation, other financing uses of $22,500 that are being changed or moved. I wonder if you could define that in detail for us. The other thing, under Spoils Ball Field Fund, I noticed that there's an $8,825 entry for purchase of beer. I would like to know what is the going rate for markup. So if we're buying $8,825 worth of beer as a village, how much income should we be generating off of that said beer? I'd like to wrap up with comments about the community block grant programs, and I understand tonight that you're going to make a recommendation. Again, it's one of these emergency things. At one of the public hearings, I did personally suggest that the home repair program was something that should be utilized by the village. I'm not sure where the definition of how it was to operate came from, but my concern is it might be open to abuse, and I don't recall hearing any open discussion within the context of a committee meeting or with council to arrive.
Thank you, Mrs. Amlon.
Thank you, and I hope everyone does vote on November 8th.
All right.
Good evening. I'm Maria Walther, and I live on 27 Damon Road. I just have a couple of quick remarks. Number one, I'm on behalf of Dr. Nasby. I want to thank council for allowing us to have the presentation that we did the last time. It was really refreshing to see the young man do his whole presentation and greet us in Chinese and all of that. So they really appreciated that you took the time to let him in. I also, as a continuum response that I have for the next meeting, I have to secure a section of our council meeting, just a section that I introduced Dr. Nasby and the student, and send that clipping of the video to all the members of the Business Advisory Council. So they would have, instead of a dry summary, they actually could see the little clipping on their monitors. There was a great recreation meeting from the Recreation Commission meeting last Wednesday, and I hope that you will fill us in, but it was very productive. Although it was unfortunate that not more people came to the meeting, although it was well advertised, but it was a very productive meeting, I thought, and I'm sure that Mr. Hermes will fill you in on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My name is Thad Willard. I live at 27 Damon Road. I just gave a copy at eventually gives you a clerk of a court decision. I think it's relevant to the meetings here. It came out in 1985, and it was a case that involved the right of the legislative body to conduct its own meetings and regulate the conduct thereof and close down and expel people. And it's laid out fairly well there, and I've just given a copy of it, so you can review it so you can feel more comfortable as to what you're doing. If you really have to exercise that authority, you do have it. And it was a 1985 case out of we call the 8th District Court of Appeals in Ohio. So that's relevant. Lastly, I want to thank those members of council who came out openly and boldly against these proposed charter amendments. If at least 2 of them pass, they're going to be an absolute disaster for the village. If you reduce from 25% to 15%, those qualified to sign a petition for a recall, as this sets up to do, it's going to be a disaster because you'll have nothing but musical chairs up here. Because it would be less than, probably between 100 to 200 people. Can sign a petition to anybody they don't like here for a personal grudge or whatever, and force a recall to cost of at least $3,500 an election. And then if it's successful, you have another election, all at the cost of the village. This can also be used as harassment for those people on council. Now, it's hard enough to get people to run for council who are qualified and really public servants and have the best of the village at heart. And if you're going to subject them every 6 months to a potential recall, you're not going to get people up here we want and need. You'll get up here the people who are the dissidents who may or may not have the best interests of the village at heart. The second thing that bothers me is the restriction on consecutive terms. More than 2 terms, then you're out. You're going to restrict people who are well qualified for filling in a vacancy. If you have God forbid, a death, someone moves out of the area, or a sickness, you have to fill a vacancy in council. You'd really like to have someone there with prior experience if possible, if available. If this passes, you're not going to be able to put that person on if it's within 4 years of their last term. Additionally, it will be forced to be nonpartisan. Under the present system, at least we have at least 1 or more of the political parties vetting who's on there.
Thank you, Mr. Will.
Okay.
Appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Council and fellow citizens, I got two things. First, I wasn't even going to say anything, but I'd like to thank you for the new park. I remember 6 months ago I got up here and ran it because I had no park to take my kids to, my grandkids. There's a beautiful park right around the corner now. That is my city's. I meant to say something to the Rec Commission, but I didn't make it to the meeting because of the rescheduling. in response to 3 charter amendments. I know there's people for and against it. Since it's been brought up, I am going to say a few things. On term limits, there are 3,600 residents in our city. If just 1% of those were willing to run, that'd be 3.6 people. I know there's enough qualified people to run. It's not to run people out. I have no grudge against anybody. I think 8 years is plenty time, and then to work on a committee or become a mayor is great. Then come back. 14. Okay, that one's a little nuts. It's not about getting a certain number of signatures to run people out. I know for a fact how expensive it is to get a petition together. I don't think anybody, even the people in my circle, had the money to do petitions every 60 to 90 days to try to run somebody out. It's a lot of work, a lot of money, and also it doesn't cost the city anything if there's an election within 60 to 75 days. These petitions are not designed to change or influence the makeup of our council. They're just to bring us more in line with the Ohio Revised Code. The open meetings has nothing to do with council. I believe 100% your council meetings are open. I believe most of your other meetings are. I think there's infractions now and then. All I want to do is limit the exceptions that we have in our charter. I'm not trying to open executive meetings at all. I understand the reason for those. Our charter does allow for certain expectations beyond the Ohio Revised Code. Again, thank you for the park.
Thanks, Bill. Anyone else? Chair shuffling. All right.
Yeah, I'm Dennis Barber at 16 Thomas Court. I'd like to compliment council and everybody on the hiring of the tree service. I think they did a fantastic job, both in removal and planting. This evening I was walking the dogs, and there was a tree removal guy out there. He was marking a couple of trees that had to be removed, and they're very large. Out near 14 Chalmers Lane. Actually, one is on the property of 14 Chalmers Lane. I'm not sure who pays for that tree removal, if that's a tree tax or what it is, but if that were a privately owned 4-unit building, I'm sure whoever privately owned that would be responsible for that removal, so I'm not sure how that's done. Anyway, number 18 has been vacant in the same building that this tree is located. And it's been 3 or 4 months that I know of. And it seems, seems to me like somebody would want to rent it. I don't know, it's a 2-unit, nice area. And I don't know why anything is not being done about it, on who handles the property, and I'm not privy to all that stuff. But, I used to work in apartment complexes. One of my main duties that I was in maintenance and covered the turnovers in apartments, one of the main things was to get a unit ready to be rented. They don't sit there idle. They're up and running within the month, unless there's some structural problem or something that can't be done. But I just don't quite understand that. I thank you for your time.
What was the address of that 18 Chalmers Lane?
Chalmers Lane at 14 to 20.
Okay, but 18 was the vacant unit.
Building there, 14 is the one where the tree is, that's
Yeah.
being removed.
Which was the vacant unit, 18?
18.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. It's been vacant for at least 3 or 4 months. And I see no for rent signs on it, or no, I'm not there through the day, so I don't know what progress gets made on it, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Moving on, reports of village officials, municipal manager, Ms. Kovac.
Hey, thank you. I do have some items that, one being a supplemental appropriation. I don't know if it would be better to go through that at the time we're talking about that item. perhaps the same for the, although the resolution for the community development block grant, the issue tonight is for us to put the council to find which they want to go down as the first priority and which to go down to the, as the second priority. So then we can address that at the time the council's considering that item. I do have a couple of other items I want to talk about, including we just left, the tree. I wanted to mention that overall the tree planting is going very well. I appreciate his compliment. We had a lot of interaction with residents, talking about the trees, and we've had some issues where we've been able to accommodate requests for certain types of trees within the trees that we've defined, so it's going very well. Just a reminder that we also have the tree stump removals going on and some totally dead trees going on, but there are 3 trees that our arborist did define, identify, and I asked him to give me a description so you would understand why these are coming down. The one is the one adjacent to Chalmers. It is actually on our property. This is a 40-inch red oak tree. The reason I asked for the descriptions is because when you look at it, it may not look like the necessity to take it down. Contains a hollow trunk approximately 7 feet above the ground. There's a 2-inch diameter hole on the tree's south side. A rake handle was inserted through the hole until it met abrupt resistance. The depth of the handle's penetration was measured to be 1.9 feet, or about 22.8 inches. The hollow area resulted from the decay of a large wound inflicted probably about 2 decades ago, and likely by the removal of a large limb or 2. The tree could not close the large wound before extensive wood rotting decay began, and it appears the hole was maintained by squirrels through the chewing. So it appears to be in relatively good health. No root rotting fungal mushrooms were observed on the base. The hollow decaying column extends several feet above and below the hole that he identified. So at least 50% of the tree trunk's diameter is hollow. And in his opinion, it's a priority removal for us if we go at any time. There's also one located near 7 Bachman. This is alongside this is a totally dead oak tree, but also a very, very large tree. It's about 18 inches in diameter, but really tall ones. So that one will be removed as well. That was identified as a priority removal. And then we have one located along the path near the northeast corner of the park, Ashby Park. It's a dying red oak. It's about 36 inches in diameter. Dead and dying branches occur along much of the trunk's length. Root rotting decay mushrooms grow from the base of the tree's trunk. Sections of the dead bark have sloughed off the trunk, exposing the dead wood. It's quickly declining. It's a high-risk location, and he too considers that a priority removal. So all 3 of those will be removed as well. And I thought you should know about that.
How are we funding the removal of these 3?
That is coming out of Village Fund, tree assessment and Village Fund, depending on where they're located.
Okay. Do we have
But we
price?
got a good deal.
Did you?
Yes, we did, because they're removing a lot of trees, some smaller, some larger. It's $200.
No way.
Read that. Yes,
Roll on.
yes.
No further questions on that issue.
Okay, and the other thing,
Insurance, right?
yes,
Yeah.
and it's the same,
Okay.
we're using the same ones that have been doing the removal.
Get on to us. Wow.
Also, one of the items that's been hanging out there for a long time is the Waterworks project. And we finally have a pre-construction meeting on that. This is Cincinnati Waterworks project, and our streets are impacted. So Mike Castor and I will be attending that pre-construction meeting, after which I will hopefully have a firm date on when they're going to start the work.
Because they've been doing a lot of marking on the streets.
A lot of marking, yes.
Okay.
And they have delivered some materials for that project already, so we hope to get a start date real soon.
Okay, so they probably plan on just working through the winter.
Yes.